Hey everyone, happy Tuesday to everybody wherever you are in podcast land or radio land or YouTube or Facebook or whatever platform you're listening to these days.
Facebook, the YouTube.
The Facebook, the YouTube.
Dad.
Thank you. Yes. My name is Steve Rozenberg. I am the host of the Landlord Survival Show, also the co-founder of Empire Industries Property Management. And just give you some update and reasons why we even have this show is Pete and I, as owners of properties, are very simply tired of people kind of getting lied to and getting their asses kicked and, getting taken on the front side when they're looking to buy properties. And a lot of people don't really remember why they even bought a property or the reasons behind owning real estate and what the rationale is to own it, keep it, sell it, eat it, devour it, whatever it is you want to do with it. Nobody really knows that because you get so caught up in the mundane minutia drama that goes on in owning a property that you kind of lose sight of that. A lot of people, when everybody wants to buy a piece of real estate, they do it because they have a dream, right? They don't do it because they say, I've got nothing to do on Saturday. I think I'll go spend 5 hours at Home Depot matching paint. They do it because they say, I want to have a retirement for my family. I'd like to have something for my kids. That's the reason why I think a lot of us buy real estate. And somewhere along the lines, that gets convoluted. And sometimes you lose sight of that. And you get into the doldrums of being this self-managing landlord that doesn't know what they're doing. You start being scared of your own shadow because you're not sure if you should or shouldn't make a decision or make a mistake. And you kind of go into that zone of just saying, you know what, I don't know, and maybe I should just sell this real estate and just be done with it. And so for the people that have gotten into that zone, and I was one of them, so I know personally I was in that zone for a couple years, Pete and I have created a website. We've created a community on Facebook, the Landlord Survival Group. We've also created a whole kind of dynamic that exists out there for people that are self-managing properties that just want to have a better solution. And we created a website. Website is called selfmanagemyproperty.com, selfmanagemyproperty.com. And if you go on there, you're going to find something unique, which is a bunch of free stuff. And there's free things that you can download from there to help you become more successful as an investor. There's videos to watch. There's documents you can have. There's a lot of things that I think didn't exist when I was trying to be a landlord and didn't know. Now, if you really want to go and become a very good landlord, you can download our manual, the Ultimate Landlord Survival Handbook. And that manual is basically how we at Empire manage 1,000 properties. So there's no magic. There's no, silver bullet. This is just the stuff that we do on a daily basis on how to run your properties like a business. Because I think the biggest challenge that I think a lot of owners, property management companies, probably any business in reality, but I know for owners and property management companies is that you are running a business. And in a business, there's different departments, there's different avenues, and there's different things that you should do, and there's things that you really shouldn't do. And the only way to know what you should and shouldn't do is to be educated. And I think education is the key. And my guest today, we're going to talk a lot about education with running a business and what his organization does for the real estate community. So again, the whole reason that I did this is I wanted to create something for people to go to. So if you go to Facebook, you can sign on to our group, the Landlord Survival Group. Again, I don't want anything sold on there. I don't want anybody talking about how great things are. This is to talk about the down and dirty, no shit stuff that happens to us as landlords, property management companies, just stuff that goes on. So let's talk a little bit about my guest today. First, my guest is Bill Lopez. Bill, thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you didn't just drive here today. You actually got on a plane to come to this.
I did. And once again, I flew somewhere that I thought would be warmer than it actually is.
Yeah, it's a little bit chillier, that's for sure. Houston, it's not normally this cold, but it'll dip. You get a little dip,
Yeah.
and winter time is coming. So we don't all get the Miami. What is it in Miami right now?
When I left, it was mid 80s. It was really nice.
Mid 80s. Okay, got it. So let's talk a little bit. First, let's talk about how we met.
Sure.
Because it's kind of an interesting story. So I was speaking in Australia for a PMC event in Brisbane. and huge event. I'll never forget walking around the event with my buddy Dennis Youssef, and we're walking around. And, I walk through this huge room and I see these cranes and TV screens and all this stuff going up, like this big construction. And I thought, oh, wow, they must have a lot of different events going on here in conjunction with this PMC event that I'm speaking at. And I remember I look over at Dennis and I say, oh, what other events are going on here? And he says, what are you talking about? I said, well, who's in this room? And he says, mate, that's where you're talking. That's the event. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He says, this is the biggest event in Australia. I said, the event that I'm speaking at? He said, yes. I thought,
they're done like a Hollywood production.
I did, yeah. It
really
was. It was these huge screens. I mean, hundreds of.
I was out in the lobby and working. We were actually working, and I remember hearing your voice and going, "Hey, that guy sounds like me. Let me get in there."
He's American, yeah. So
no, it was more the intensity. I was like, "Wait a second, I got to go see what this guy's saying." I got to
listen to what the guy's saying, yeah. So anyway, I did the event in Australia. Had a great time speaking over there. I've done several events over there, but this one was really, really good. Ben White, just a gracious guy, asked me to come over. I did. Him and Jody Stanton, all the people over there, just fantastic. Did the event. Came back to the U.S. and I remember it was probably about maybe a month or two later, you gave me a call.
Yep.
You said, hey, Steve, I heard you speaking at PMC. You were, besides from the only other American there, I really liked what you had to say. And you seemed like you really hit it on the head.
Well, the strategy was definitely go global. LPMA's business model and what we're offering is really shouldn't stay in Australia. It really needs to get out there. But people ask me all the time, why listen to a bunch of guys from Australia? They're doing a lot of things right over there in consideration with property management.
Right. So with that being said, let's maybe take a little bit of a step back. Tell us, you were with LPMA. And maybe give some background about LPMA, what they did.
LPMA is Leading Property Managers Association.
Right.
It was formerly Leading Property Managers of Australia. Yes, and it was a great organization started by Bob and Dixie, and did a great job. But
built for like 25 years, right? I mean, this is not a couple year.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah,
for a while, and they built a very good base.
A good name brand.
That's
good
right.
Association.
And they had a couple contacts here and relationships with Kevin Knight.
Kevin
industry
Knight,
leaders.
Brad Larson. Some great guys. Absolutely.
Great leaders, and there's been a lot of interaction back and forth, from Australia to here. So it's just been interesting. And from my perspective, being in multifamily for 25 plus years, I've really been able to see the difference and compare them. And 20 years ago, multifamily looked a lot like the single family home market does today, where there's so much room for growth, there's so much room for everybody working together. And today, multifamily runs like a well-oiled machine. So there's a lot of opportunity. And it's the leadership. It's people like you that not only are doing things for the betterment of your business, there's a real genuine effort by a lot of these leaders to make the industry better as well.
So let's maybe take a couple more steps back and let's talk about kind of your background, because how you kind of, this isn't what you wanted to do per se. This wasn't the goal of life. You kind of have different trials and tribulations in life you've got here. So you're from Miami.
That's right. Well, I was born in New York City, and I moved to Miami in the mid-'70s when I was 10 years old. But Miami's home.
Okay.
Miami's definitely home.
And you've had several businesses.
Yeah, I did. Back, I'm literally the day I got out of college, I had known somebody who was a computer program, and he developed a program for property managers to build monthly newsletters.
Okay.
And as you know, property managers may not be graphic artists, writers.
It's not their skill.
Editors. It's difficult. So we developed a program and a process for property managers to put out a monthly newsletter.
Okay.
Little did we know, as time went on, we were actually developing a new industry. And it's funny, when I sold my first business in 1997, we were the first company building newsletters out for apartment communities. There were 7 to 8 companies now doing it. But what was happening, print was dying.
Right.
So we started to develop these newsletters in PDFs. And then
what year was this?
Now it's turned the year 2000,
okay.
close to year 2000, and where paper's not in favor anymore.
Right.
And you start developing mobile apps. So you start realizing we were never a newsletter company. What we were was a resident communication platform.
Interesting.
And things changed once we started.
Whatever the medium changed.
Yeah, because
but
at the end of the day, what the reality is, you don't want your property manager bumping into a resident in the parking lot talking about rent due, rent late, the water's being turned off in building B at noon. You need a strong communication tool. I don't care if it's somebody on the roof sending smoke signals.
Right. Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. Okay, so when you were building that business and you went through the trials and tribulations, I'm just curious, were there any key takeaways that would come back and circle back to help you?
Yeah, and I look at it as a formula. I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s and when we sold this business. So it was a lot of money. And as you know, money, if you don't treat it carefully, it's like a tool or
it's a double-edged sword,
it could
man.
hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you learn. And one of the things I learned early on was I could have lost my money, given it away. It didn't matter. What I learned was the formula, how to make the money.
Yeah.
And I realized nobody was ever going to come and knock on my door and give me anything.
Right.
You had to work your tail off. And some of the things I figured out early on was you have the best product at the best price with the best customer service. You'll win every time.
Absolutely.
And you got to be a little bit crazy too. You kind of got to go to bed every night thinking about your competitors, thinking about, I wonder if they're thinking about me like I'm thinking about them right now.
And what I always tell people is you have to start getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
You've got to, if you are comfortable, you're not growing.
Yep.
And if, we've learned from our company as we grow, and, look, there's a difference between uncomfortable and stressed to the max, right? There's a difference. But there's a bit of controlled chaos, we'll call it. And, when you're growing a company, you need to have that controlled chaos. If you are in equilibrium and that means you're not growing or there's a problem. If, I hate to say it, but if operations is happy and sales is happy, you're probably not growing.
Yep.
Somebody has to be stressed. There has to be that positive, negative force when you're growing a company to keep things going. And I've learned, growing this company that we have, I've learned, obviously, just I've got an MBA or a PhD in mess ups, but also we've learned a lot of lessons of what we should and shouldn't do that we can carry on to future. That I actually use a lot of this when I'm talking to investors that are owning properties. Because a business is a business, right? It doesn't change. You can change the facade of the business and what you sell, but the reality is at the end of the day, you're getting money for doing something.
That's right.
Right? At the end of the day. And so
and more importantly, and I think that's important what you just said, but you're actually taking money from people who work very hard for it.
Absolutely.
So, that can never leave your side of vision. It's like, why you're taking this money from these people who work very hard. So
yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like what you did, I think that any business, whether you're a rental property, whether you're a property management company, whether you're LPMA, you have to have a solution to what someone's problem is. Because if let's just say LPMA, if you guys do not have a solution to what property management companies have, there's no need to hire you, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And the biggest challenge a lot of companies have is they offer a solution to nobody's problem. You look on people's websites, right? You look on a company's website and they have like pictures of cats and their awards and this and that. And I'm going, yeah, but I have a problem. I have a tenant in my property that I need to evict. Your cats are not helping me. Your videos of you dancing around does not help me. And that's one of the challenges that a lot of people have is they don't understand what their problem is. They don't even know what their problem is. So how do you identify what your problem is when you are not able, you can't fix what you don't know.
Right. But it's so important to try to understand knowing what you don't know, because a lot of people go through their lives, their journey and their businesses not truly understanding what they don't know, focusing on what they do well,
right,
and then just living in a vacuum in a dark room, trying to figure things out. And usually, most of the time, when you're trying to figure things out and you don't get it right, it costs you money, and
right.
that's the penalty.
So let's talk about this. So you went to your first. You sold that company. What was the
first
next?
company, and I think a lot has to do with having the right mentorship. Surrounding yourself with the right people. I was a kid. I didn't know much about.
You probably made some bad mistakes. I'm guessing.
I did,
like
but one of the best things I did was find a very smart partner who understood business. And a little shout out to my old partner Tim Donovan. He's up in New York right now, but. just a brilliant, patient, kind guy who spent a lot of time teaching me business.
Right.
And some of those business theories and practices I still use today. So I did sell that first company with him. There was a 5-year non-compete. You respect that. And right before you run out of money, you figure out, hey, what am I going to do? And you realize, okay, I know how to do that, and I could do that very well. And you get back into it. But this time, the second time around, I had the similar business, same publishing company, resident communication platform, let's call it. But this time I was by myself. And now I'm married and I have a kid on the way. So the reason why you work changes. So now you're working for different things. So,
it's funny. I just interrupt you. What I've always learned is people don't do things they want to do. They do things that they have to do. Meaning, we all want to lose weight. Doesn't mean we will. But if somebody said, if you don't lose 50 pounds, you will die, all of a sudden you're going, shit, I need to lose weight. If you don't fix your business, you will go out of business tomorrow. You're going to fix some stuff, right? If you didn't, all of a sudden you're kind of like, yeah, I should get a job. I should start a new company. All of a sudden you look at your bank account and you go, shit, I really need to get a job. Right. That's what you have to do, right? And that's where the challenge is. And I think that's the big challenge with a lot of people is they don't do what they should do. They do what is necessary at that moment that's staring at them. And so maybe it's a matter of priorities. Right?
And I think you need to embrace what you're doing. I mean, don't be in business if you hate it, if you're angry. You got to embrace it. You got to love it. I'll tell you, when I owned my businesses, there were no weekends. There just weren't. I remember meeting graphic artists in our office, at 11 p.m. on a Saturday and working, until 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's the stuff we do. You do what you have to do.
Yeah, and you embrace it. And I look back on those days, and it felt like playing sports. And you talked about control chaos. We both former football players,
right.
and it's like that. You really like playing a sport. It never felt like work to me.
Yeah.
It felt like, hey, look, I could win or lose out here, but damn, I'm having a good time.
Well, I think one of the challenges that people have in business in general, and we'll kind of relate this to property management because we both know that, but I think one of the biggest challenges is that, we don't really think of it like a business in the sense of us being a leader. I think a lot of people, when they get into business, they normally, the normal transgression of people is they go from operator, meaning employee, to saying, I can do it better than them. I'm going to split off and start my own thing. They start their own business. And then what happens is they're right back to where they were. Now they're just an employee making no money.
Right.
If before you were an employee making money with no responsibility, you could walk out and go like, I don't care, that's not my problem. Now you've got all the billing and accounting and all the issues that go on being an owner, but you're not making any money now.
That's right.
And now you're going, well, shit, why am I doing this? I could get a job and I'm going to work 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever you work, you're still going to work. And I tell people, I'm like, if you're going to be busy, why not be busy towards a goal, but focus before you even swing the axe. Let's sharpen it so that when you are busy cutting down the tree, you're going to be cutting down trees all day long. Yep. You might as well make some progress as you're cutting them down as opposed to working on just one tree all day.
And sometimes it's not only because I have to work, I have a family, or I need, I was in a job and I kind of saw this opportunity and I took it. A big part of my journey as being an entrepreneur and understanding this whole journey was doing something special.
Yeah.
I knew at the time what we were doing, nobody else was doing. We were the first company out there making these monthly newsletters, and it was cool. And I was really young, and I understood that. I understood the legacy behind it.
Sure.
And we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I think, I know we're in the same situation. We're doing something with LPMA that's going to be around a very long time, generations, decades here in America. And it's really cool to have your fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, because you're bringing something that isn't here, and you're basically you're making the mold essentially.
Yeah, and that's special. And anytime you get an opportunity to do something special, you want to take advantage of it, and that has nothing to do with money. And I'll tell you,
it's not a monetary thing.
If you find the opportunity, and I've lived by this mantra, be great at what you do, and money will follow you.
Money,
it'll follow you no matter what.
What's so funny is that I look. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to have the zeros in the bank.
But I think that's the wrong order.
But
be great, and then money will follow.
But what's so funny is it's all in your head. When you really think about it, when's the last time you've actually seen money? Have you seen your bank? Have you actually seen the money in your bank account?
I see it, but it must have really fast feet because it goes really fast.
Yeah, but it's a mindset. You have a mindset of it, right? If you sat here and said, I'm making 10 mil a year, you would say, you know what? I feel pretty good. If you sat here and said, I'm making $10 a year, but has anything actually changed right here, sitting here? It's just your mindset.
Yeah.
You've changed that.
No, I know a lot of people who make $10 million a year and they're not happy.
They're miserable. So. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about you meeting Ben, and Ben obviously took over LPMA, right?
Yes, Ben and Ashley
Ben
Renner.
and Ashley.
Yes. So my journey started in multifamily, and I had stopped because I had a non-compete for a while, and I met this one Australian who had developed a bidding platform for multifamily.
Okay.
Ingenious idea, really great. We worked hard on it for about 2 years. We raised a whole bunch of money. We raised it in Australia, and we actually took the company public. It's actually traded on the ASX right now.
Right.
Great bidding platform. Getting the platform built, we had it built by Ben White and Ashley Renner's company at the time.
Okay.
And that's where I met these two gentlemen.
Gotcha.
And it's just sometimes you meet people. It doesn't matter where they are in the world.
Yeah.
It could be down the block or on the other side of the world, and you have synergies and common ideas on not just business, life, family,
Sure.
humor, you name it. So you hit it off with these people. You do some work with them, and you learn about them. You develop trust, and as things winded down with that bidding platform, I was in between things, and I always knew that I wanted to work with these guys.
With Ben and Ashley.
Yeah, and not so much because they had this great idea, which this is why I'm here, because I believe in what we're doing. But you want the opportunity to work with people who could better you.
High caliber guys. Look, they're good guys.
I've always surrounded myself with people who can make me a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys do. They push me. So I gave them a call. And the timing couldn't have been any better. They'd taken over LPMA in Australia and got lofty ideas that really make sense. It's a very cerebral association.
Now, let me ask you this. So first, maybe you can explain a little bit what they do and then why they feel that the U.S. is such a market that they want to tap into.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let me just wrap up
Yep.
that interaction with Ben and Ashley because it is important. So the timing was right. And like any other business, you've made it when you made it in America. So
Right, okay.
in some sense, and not to just start spewing this America exceptionalism
Right.
that we could talk about on the way
That's
home
another
in the
conversation,
car.
yeah.
We could do that the whole way home in the car. They believed in me. They believe in what
Yeah.
they're doing. They believe in me, and they believe in the U.S. market.
Okay.
They've been here. We've done our homework.
Yeah.
They've met people like you and the Brads, the Kevin Knights, the Erica Lambs. There's a lot of people out there who really believe in what we've accomplished in Australia and would like to see the same, not only for their business, but for the industry as a whole. So these guys have entrusted in me to help them seed LPMA here in the United States, and that's my job. And again, it gets back to beyond the successes we could have with money. I think it's an opportunity to do something really special here,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing. And so far, all signs point to there's a real rich market here with a very high ceiling
Yeah.
and lots of opportunity.
Well, it's volume, right? It comes down to when you're looking at the sheer volume. What probably a lot of people don't realize is in Australia, it's probably about 90, maybe 80% is managed by management companies. The rest are self-managed or some variation. And in the U.S., it's almost polar opposite. So in the U.S., it's about 82% are managed by self-management and only about 18 to 20%, maybe as high as 30.
Which that's where the opportunity is. If I was a property manager and owner, would get me crazy. Like, hold on a second. Not only individually as a business owner, what can I do to flip that number? What can we do as an industry to flip that number as well?
That's very true, because what a lot of people miss is they're busy battling the 18%. Right. Everybody's fighting for this small piece of the pie when you look and go, maybe collectively we could all work to educate the 80%, because look, 1 out of 3 landlords is in a lawsuit every year for fair housing, discrimination, some form of lawsuit litigation, because they're not running it like a business. Here you have companies like LPMA, you've got property management, you've got all this education on the backside that's only tapping into 18% of the market. So you got to say, okay, how do you tap into the 80%? Sheer numbers. I mean, I have heard some very, very large numbers of people that self-manage when it comes to actual data. And my thing is almost selling yourself short, all the education. So you have property management companies. And look, I think all property management companies in the US, wherever they are, they're trying to do the right thing by the owner. Now, sometimes that doesn't work because of communication, because of expectations, because of lack of systemization, multiple reasons, right? Bad business models, no business models, you name it, right? But I think what happens is everyone is so focused on that 18%, they're missing a huge.
That's right.
And I mean, if let's just say LPMA, I know this isn't the business model, but if LPMA were to go and say, okay, we're going to start educating that 82%, we're going to go after them to educate them on how to become better owners. Think of everything you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, you are helping a lot more people in essence. You're helping property managers, I get it. But now all of a sudden you start helping or in LPMA, whatever company, X company it is, but you're actually helping a larger, wider arena.
You are. And really, when you say we're helping, LPMA actually helps through the community. What we need to really start to look at is how the community helps. So what we do, LPMA facilitates that community.
Yeah,
we're going to build the most beautiful arena,
right?
And it's going to have the best facilities. And by the way, our business tools are off the charts, and it's going to empower the business owner. But at the end of the day, the community that we're building needs to support itself. I think a lot of associations fail with the weight on itself by trying to be the community itself, opposed to letting the community grow organically. And that community, look, when there's people like you out there that would literally stop what they're doing for the day to help a competitor, that says a lot. And that's the community we're talking about. In Australia, competitors talk.
Oh, yeah.
They do. They work together.
Well, my philosophy, Pete and myself, our philosophy is that we're really not competing against other property management companies. I don't really believe much competition. If you have a product and you are good and people want to buy your product, you're not competing against anyone. You're competing against getting the client or not. That's your competition, right? Whether or not you have a good product. Now, whether it's compared to other people, or are you comparing it to people that are self-managing? If you look at statistic, 82% are going to go the route of self-managing. So our competition is not other companies. Our competition is trying to help a self-managing person understand the value of what we bring to the table.
That's right. And it's a big industry. It's hard to pivot on a dime. You can't just turn the ship on a dime, and it does. And I think that's why LPMA, the organization LPMA, the association, we could help do that. And again, it's not going to happen overnight, but we are well aware of the commitment out there by industry leaders to have some change. And our first campaign here in the States, and we really haven't even rolled it out, we've selectively chosen industry leaders to be founding members. We're not going to have a lot of founding members, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we definitely want to make sure that we roll this out the right way, and it's about messaging. LPMA is an essential part to everybody's property management business. Let's think about that for a minute. Okay. It's essential. There's companies out there that are spending money on swag, the pens and the calendars, and this and that.
Hey, I got a good coffee cup from Property Mill, I got to say, yesterday, so I was digging that.
Yeah, no, but for me as a business owner, I'm putting my money, I want a ROI. I want to make sure
your family, the livelihood of your family, the
make
employees.
Sure that I'm doing what I can to better my business and the industry as a whole. And once business owners understand that LPMA is an essential part to their business, the business tools, what we're offering. We got a strong strategic business review. We'll go over a little bit more about the offering in a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I think there's a commitment out there in the industry to change. And getting back to our first campaign, it's a new era, and that's the way we're looking at it. It's a new era in property management, and we need people to understand and look at it like that.
Well, I think that, the era, if you will, is the fact that technology is here.
That's right.
Right. And a lot of people, what I see the split, if you will, there's a bit of a changing of the guard. The average in the U.S., the average property manager is about 58 years old. So, you either have the young people, like, I don't think I'm young, but, young in the sense of up and coming, or you have the people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years, and they're kind of happy with their size.
But there's a clash of the way those two generations think.
Absolutely. Absolutely there is. And when you see a lot of the clash, a lot of that is through technology. And there's, whether it's using systems or outsourcing or using apps and programs or mindset shifts of, okay, we don't do that because, like, I'll give you a perfect example. A lot of people in the property management business, people that have been established doing it for a long time, they feel that their value to a client is being able to have that client pick up the phone, and that client can call them at any time, and that property manager knows exactly what's going on with their portfolio. They know their first name, last name, kids' names. They know everything about them. They know everything going on, and they know everything about the house, right? And they feel that when an owner calls with an issue, there's value there. And I don't dispute that. What I do dispute is the fact that, does that owner even really want to make that call?
Right.
They don't even want to call you, especially in this day and age. Everyone's busy. They would probably be just as happy with the text, or maybe they would be happy not even having to know about it or hear about it because they have 15 other things going on in their life, and buying an investment property is not something that they want to deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
So my thing is in today's environment, people are busy. They don't have time to stop and make a phone call. I don't know about you, but a lot of times my phone rings and I'm like,
yeah, no. So what people do, they lean on technology.
And
what happens, though, if you're not careful, it strips customer service. It strips that one-on-one reaction. So the challenge in business is to embrace technology, but to hold on to some of those old world thinking of, that one-on-one interaction, the relationship between the client and customer.
I remember having a conversation with Ben, and I think we were in Florida speaking at an event. And, he said some things that, I mean, talk about a smart guy.
Yeah.
But he said, they have the algorithms of all the properties that they can tell that if an owner, if there's so many maintenance issues with a property, you have a higher statistical chance of losing that client if it's not addressed properly. And after so many, it falls off.
That's right.
It's just data, right?
Right. It's all motivated and moved by data, and Ben has figured that out, and that's the key to LPMA.
Yeah.
Our framework, the foundation of our association is the community. On top of that community is our business tool, which is the framework that Ben White put together.
Right.
There's 3 books. When you join, you get the 3 books. One's Building Blocks, Numbers Game. And these books, they actually help you with your business.
It's like the foundational side of it, right? It's the total
foundation of our association. And I encourage people, look, if you don't have the books and you want a copy of them, message me and I'll get them to you.
What's good about that is, I mean, look, in any business, the numbers will tell you a story, right?
They will. They'll tell you, look, a lot of times what's interesting is go up to a business owner and ask them if their business is a growth business, a risk business. They'll tell you, oh, come on, this is a no-brainer. We're a growth business.
Right.
They'll go ahead and dig into the association's framework, our strategic business review. It's a 109 questionnaire. Mm-hmm. And what happens is we send back the survey. And all of a sudden, business owners looking at it, it's like, hold on, we're not a growth business. We're a risks business. No wonder we're only growing X amount of doors every year.
Right.
So now you look at the owner and say, well, do you still want to be a growth business? Yeah. Oh, well, here's the plan to get there. So really making that effort to be more than just a sticker on the door.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, because it's that information, if presented correctly and educated. So let's say, LPMA has all this data, right? And you can present this data to an owner and say, look, this is what it's telling you about your business. That essentially is telling you a story.
That's right.
It's telling you, it's actually letting you know either, hey, you're doing great or you're doing good, but here's some weaknesses, or you know what, you're about to fall off the cliff based on data. Because the data doesn't lie. It's not emotional. You can't skew it. It is factual
It doesn't.
stuff.
And what's great about this report is it highlights your deficiencies in reds and yellows, and where you're doing well, it's green. So your journey with LPMA, this should not be quick where, I took the review and I'm done. And like, no, you want it to take time.
Right.
You want it to take time. Some of these systems and processes that they'll help you build, whether it be team or structure or growth, takes time. It takes time to understand, but it's like walking into a dark room and not knowing where the light switch is.
Yeah.
And we come along and go, hey, look.
It's right there. Click.
It's right there. And you're like, whoa, this is my business.
If you've been in the room before and you've walked that path, it's much easier. If you've never been in that room,
right.
and that's most business owners have never been in a room before.
That's right. So I tell people all the time, and I think this resonates with people, we're the only measurable association out there. It's just not, hey, how did that association work out for you? Well, I don't know. I went to an event and this and that, but I'm not sure. I think you could measure LPMA. If you look, we could build the gym. I can't make you strong.
Right.
You know, we build a gym, give you a membership. You
right.
got to do some of the work.
Yeah.
And you got to use the community too. You got to lean on the community. You got to use the business tools. But I guarantee you, if you do those things and you believe in the community and you believe in your business and what you're doing, measure it, measure us, and you'll see a better business. And over time, we'll all see a better industry.
So let me ask you this. So if you and I met on the street and I own a property management company and you say, hey, let me tell you about LPMA. How would you describe it? This is what we bring to the table. And I know you say community, but like more tangible, like this is what we do. This is what the membership is.
The offer is, and right now what we're doing, and again, this is going to be a two-way street. Mm-hmm. We're not in this for the short term.
Right.
So over the X amount of time it takes to get our first 250, which is not a big number when you're going to have thousands and thousands of members.
Not in this industry.
I think the status of being a founding member has its worth and value right there. But when you look at that offering, what we're offering is the community. It's got a forum that's unlike anything you've ever seen, where I compliment a lot of those Facebook groups out there. We both talk about Brad's and yours.
Larson, yeah.
These are great groups that I definitely love being a part of, and you see all of this content on there, and it's just great. It's just great. I'm still trying to figure out the pineapple pizza thing myself, but I'll eventually get there. But our forum takes some of those topics and goes deeper. We go granular on some of those things. It's like going from high school to college and college to get your master's degree.
Right.
If you're really serious about digging deep into
technical
some of those
information,
those topics, let's go a little bit deeper and talk about that, not just have a couple blurbs. But I think it works well with all those things. We want to support that. We like to see those groups develop, and we want to see it go back and forth, because when you start, the world's getting smaller. And some of the things that they struggle with in Australia, same things we're struggling with here. Why not listen to somebody who's figured it out over there?
Absolutely.
They're very process-oriented in Australia.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we're bringing. So this offer, the business review, the business program.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that.
That right there, if literally talk about walking into each other off the street, that you can make the argument that's a $1,500, $2,000 purchase if you don't want to go the route of a consultant. It gives you a real window into your business. I mean, pretty inexpensive. By itself, it's worth at least $2,000. Then we have our 2019 events. One is the Boris Day, which is an incredible event we had last year in Australia. He's a Harvard professor that comes in and gives this one-day event.
He was in Australia speaking recently, right?
He does these one-day events on teams and structure that blew people away. And again, if a business owner took himself and his team there, it could cost $5,000, $10,000. So we've really put together a package that, number one, is a way in, but we wanted to overwhelm people with value. So just, look, it's be a founding member. It's $49.99 a month. Mm-hmm. Which comes out to $600 a month, which is very affordable when you look at what you're getting. You're getting the community with the forum, but more importantly, you're getting the business tools as well. And it's something that, again, it should take some time, and you should really put an effort into that. So the total value compared to what you're paying is incredible. Our two events, the second one is going to be our inaugural conference as well, which don't ask me. Go ahead and ask Steve, ask Brad, ask Eric Lamb, people who actually have gone to Australia. Ben and Ashley and the team there it's just, look, I come from multifamily where I got to admit it, multifamily's got their stuff together.
They run like businesses.
And they do a great production. I did not expect to go to Australia and see what I saw. And listen, we're talking about the award ceremony. Look, LPMA carries some weight in Australia. I've seen people who own companies that have thousands of doors and get on stage and get an award for best property management company or whatever, and get up to the microphone crying and say, I've worked my whole life for this. Yeah. It wasn't just something that came out of Cracker Jack box. Right. This was something that means something. So this is something that I know if we do it right in time here in America, we're going to have that same thing. We're going to have that same event. It's going to mature. It's going to evolve.
Right.
But as you know from what you saw in Australia, I think we have a really, really great opportunity to do something really nice for our members.
Absolutely, yeah. So what are some similarities of stuff that they're doing in Australia now that they would like to bring over? I know that they want to do the basic, I'll call it a diagnostic. So if you were to come into my company and you did a diagnostic,
you would go online and do it. It's all self-service. You go online, the community's online, all the business tools are online, videos.
Right. Everything's online these
days.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yep.
You couldn't fly to all over the place and do this. So if that was the case and I get the results, what happens then? So I get the results and go, okay, you're good here, you suck here. This is something that can be improved. And I go, well, that's great.
Well, we're gonna give you the information and the tools to go ahead and try to address those situations. And again, nothing's going to be an easy fix. You got to work it. And some of the things you can't figure out, that's where you need to lean on the community.
Right.
And that's where our forum comes in. It filters out a lot of the noise out there that you might find on social media. But
because this is so specific.
Yeah, it is really specific. And like I said, I think we're a very cerebral association. We're a thinking man and woman's association. And it's going to take a little bit of effort, but that's okay because the people, they understand. They understand how hard they work at their company. You know?
I think what happens is as people grow their business, any business, it doesn't matter, you're going to hit a glass ceiling, right? And your dreams, hopes, and visions of what you started may not always be what you end with. And what you thought it would be and what it's evolved to. Look, our company constantly is evolving, right? I mean, we are constantly changing our goal.
You're going to evolve or die.
And we move the stick. We move the goal line all the time because we reach a goal and we go, well, shit, that was much easier than we thought. Or, you know what, that's not obtainable at this point. Or, we took a hard left and didn't even notice. So I think what's good, what LPMA does is kind of brings you back to center. Kind of, you've got the 100 and plus questions, but what you're doing is you're bringing everyone back to center to go, okay, you know what is actually important in my business? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And what do I need to fix? Now, let me ask you this. Once someone does the initial round of questions and they take, they go online, do you guys advise taking another questionnaire maybe a year later?
So what'll happen, it's even cooler than that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Trello.
Yeah.
It's a card organizing system. So we actually put together, when you're done with the strategic business review, a Trello board with all of your deficiencies. So you could actually progress them from need to do to doing to approval to complete.
Specific for my company.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Definitely go online and check out the sample of it because it's a full board. And a lot of people wouldn't even know what to do with Trello, but to actually give them a head start on that, then they start using Trello for other parts of their business. For different parts of your business, yeah. Which is great added value as well. So it's not like, hey, this is a report and we leave you hanging. No, we're committed to helping you see this through. Doesn't matter if everybody puts it on their desk and leaves it there. It wouldn't do us any good.
Absolutely. That was my question. Like, you get it. A lot, as we all know, when you're in business and you're running your business, it's shiny object, right? You go to a convention, you leave with 5 pages of notes, you're going to conquer the world. That's get one of them done, and now you're off to the next convention.
A year from now, nobody should ask Bill Lopez how things are going or how we did. Ask your fellow peers. They're going to tell the rest of the country, hey, you know what? We are better because of that. We got better here. My staff is better. We're working better. My processes and systems are better, whatever it may be. I fully expect that. Now,
in LPMA, is there a way, we break it down to 5 pillars, right? You've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got operations, accounting, finance, and IT. We put together. Is there a breakdown of something like that so let's say in the online portion, if I say,
it's simple. You got the community side and you got the business tool side.
Okay.
It's really that simple. And in time, we will start introducing another aspect to our business where look at us as a two-sided coin. Mm-hmm. The other side is a software development company called ALO.
ALO, yeah.
Which I'm telling you, it's going to blow people away in America. Yeah. We're developing technologies that they're forward thinking. They're not looking backwards historically. They're providing information to people that
that's a beer, by the way, if your phone goes off while you're
you know what's funny is I turned the ringer off, but it was the darn Apple Watch that got me.
Don't blame, that's a beer. I don't care what it is. So when is the ALO rolling out? Because I've seen it. I've actually been on there before in Australia.
That's just something that I would just leave as a teaser right now, because our main focus is building this community and building it with the right founding members who help us evangelize what we're doing and understand that it's going to take some time and some leadership. And I think that's where we've been successful over the last 6 months, is finding people like you who are willing to listen and to help out others. I think that's critically.
So let's talk about the founding people. People are listening and they kind of want to know more about it.
Yeah,
give some information on that.
That's a two-way street. We're at a point right now where being a founding member is going to come with its benefits. You will always get discounts. You'll always, pay a little bit less. There will be those benefits.
Sure.
You get this awesome. Everybody will get a welcome kit. The founding members get a gold lapel pin that says LPMA Founder. The welcome kit comes with the framework, the books. So being a founding member, the two-way street I'm talking about is feedback. We're going to need feedback, and I want to make sure
because you guys are collecting data essentially, right?
It's feedback. Erica Lamb, just a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
Listen, I've met a lot of people in my life. This is just a genuine good person. It doesn't matter if she was selling flowers or property management.
Yeah.
She looked at all our stuff, reviewed it, and got back in touch with me and gave me great constructive criticism, which we expect. Mm-hmm. Nothing's perfect at first, but I'll tell you what is perfect. Our effort to do what's right, do right by people, and literally usher in this new era of property management in America. Because I'll tell you what, when people in America, get back to that question I mentioned earlier on. People ask me why listen to a bunch of guys from Australia. Well, the first one we mentioned, 80% of owners and investors are using a property management company. But the other one is if you go sell your rent roll, you're getting 3 to 4 times the valuation. That's a big number.
Yeah.
Seriously, if that doesn't motivate people to say, okay, let's get behind this. Let's the first 250 founding members, we're leaders. Look, we don't have chapter presidents. We're a little bit differently structured. And I never used NARPM as a competitor either, because I think it's a great organization. They're a non-for-profit, so they'll move at their own speed and they'll provide their services. But I think
it's too different. It's like baseball and softball.
Totally. And our lane is a little bit different as far as community goes and as far as business tools goes. So, we have a very good relationship with NARPM. We attend their events. They're very friendly with us. But those 250 founding members, feedback is critical. Understanding that the legacy behind it, that there'll be founding members. Imagine being at that small table 30, 40 years ago when they started NARPM, and helping dictate and point the direction of where we want to go with this. Like your voice actually means something, and you guys get together and we're going to have a strong founding member class. And from there, that feedback we'll get together, we're going to build an unbelievable community. And when that newer era of property management has been ushered in, what's left in the wake will be something similar to what we're seeing in Australia, where valuations go up, more landlords and owners are using it, then everybody's happy.
All boats rise when the tide comes
up.
up.
At that point, then it's no more pushing the rock uphill. It'll be a rock rolling downhill. People will understand that LPMA is an essential part to their business, and they'll sign up. Hey, I just started a property management company. I had to get insurance. I had to turn the lights on. I had to get my LPMA membership.
Right.
So that's where we're going.
So let me ask you this, and let's just say a year from today, where do you see LPMA here in the U.S.? Where do you see it?
With massive traction, with the reputation of having not only the best events, but events that actually are rich in content and people actually put to use later.
Because by then, you guys will have done your conference, right?
Yeah, definitely. So by the end of 2019, we're going to look back. We're going to have that, founding member class in. We're going to have a lot of regular members in. We're going to have 2 events. They'll probably be back to back, one day after the next. I expect to see a lot of blue sky and a lot of happy people. But along the way, we're going to have our challenges and our blockers, but that's
like
okay.
Any business. It's a business, right?
That's okay. But that's the part you got to embrace, because, if you stick your head in the sand and you do nothing about it and you're always focused on what you're doing right, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
we're not going down that road. No.
Well, whatever you fear ends up happening. So
That's right.
you can't fear failure, because that's where you'll go right towards.
We're not going to stop at the U.S.
Yeah.
We could go other places. We could be in Europe. We could be in London. We could be other places. We have lofty goals, but to get there, we need to build a strong organic community.
So let me ask you this: where do you see the membership levels going? Like, because there's a lot of property management companies out there that don't belong to any groups.
That's right.
So how do you get into them? Let's say I own a company and I go, I'm not big enough for LPMA. What size would you say is perfect? Is there any size?
There isn't. And that's why it's so critical that I keep going back to that word essential.
Right.
When you just open your doors for day one, it's essential that you have that support system.
Sure.
And sometimes some of the other associations out there, while they're needed, at first, it's those business tools. It's the understanding. It has nothing to do with your license or certification. Listen, it's about understanding how to organize your forms and files and how to hire and fire somebody, all of those things that you need guidance on. And what we don't want is a country full of franchises and everybody just following, okay, here's your big binder of what you do, and that's it. I think you need to do a little bit more like you're doing, outreach. You need to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the industry, and I think that's what we're going to deliver.
From personal experience, I can tell you that when we first started, which 6 years, December 1 was 6 years for our company being open, and one of the first things that we did when we were part of NARPM is there should almost be a section or class of what happens outside of the classes. Because when you're hanging out talking to people at lunch or at the networking parties,
that's right.
It's amazing how open everybody is and how nice everyone is to help you. And what we found is when we were doing that, we have made some really, really good friends with a lot of people that some would say we're competitors, some would say we're not. We talk to them all the time. We know people in Houston. We got Brad Larson, Kevin Knight. Pete and I went to South Carolina and met with a guy. He actually spent, I think it was 2 days of us at his operation showing us everything. He had an employee after employee come in, sit in an office and tell us everything that they did, what their job roles were, what the responsibilities were. He told us everything. And we were thinking like, wow, this is amazing. And he said, well, that's kind of what we do at NARPM. That's what that was. And we thought, man, that is amazing. And I know Pete and I always said, if we could ever give back like that, we would do that. Because we were this small company with 180 doors. This guy's got 1,700 doors. He sat there all day listening. And we thought, man, first of all, how's this guy get away for 2 days without even having to touch his phone? How does that even happen, first of all? But
that's right.
The fact that he was so open, and they said, if you ask people, they will open their doors to you. And that has held true. So, LPMA doing that is just adding more. I think it's more of the abundance theory of being able to give more and more, and you're going to get more and more back.
Yeah, and that's where we're at right now. We understand we don't have the leverage yet, so we needed to put together a package, an offering that overwhelm people with value. You know, we need to show that. We need to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're confident, and we know, give us that year. Give us a chance, Don't buy the swag.
Don't buy the swag.
Hold off the pen.
No pizza.
Hold off
pineapple
the pen.
pizza.
Yeah, no pineapple pizza right now. But put your money, invest it in LPMA, and let's have this conversation a year from now. And I promise you, we'll have a stronger industry. You'll have a stronger business, and we'll have a lot of fun along the way as well.
Yeah.
We have great speakers.
Absolutely.
We're putting together a great conference. We'd love to have you speak there. We talked to Brad about that and a couple other people. Look, man, for me, this is a great opportunity to stay in the rental industry. Like I said, I was in multifamily a long time, but I love my country, and when I go to Australia and I visit and I come back, I'm so enriched with new learnings. You grow personally, but you grow professionally, and I'm so excited about having the opportunity to better our industry here and being part of that. I take a lot of pride, and I also take a lot of pride in the fact that I know I know America. Property managers in America aren't just going to stay quiet. Like, once we get a hold of this LPMA thing, we're going to make a big splash, and we're going to do what we usually do with things, and we're going to make it great.
Dominate.
That's for sure. Yeah, we want to. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming on today.
Wait, hold on.
It's been an hour. Can you believe that?
Are you kidding me?
I swear. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you and hear more about LPMA, give them some information.
Important. Please call me at 305-609-2757. That's my direct line.
Maybe a little slower again.
Yeah, let's do that again. That's the New Yorker coming out of me.
That's right.
Let me try it Texas style. 305-609-2757. Or my email address is bill@lpma.com. Our web address is www.lpma.com. Go on there. And again, take advantage of the value. We're offering about a $2,500, $3,000 worth of tangible value for $49.99 a month. Jump on it, because we only have 250 slots open. Love to have you on board. bill@lpma.com. Let's make it happen. And thank you, Steve, for having me here.
No problem. And everyone, appreciate everyone listening to the show. If you want to know more, go to our website, selfmanagemyproperty.com. You can also download this show on iTunes. Bill, again, always appreciate you coming on. LPMA, Ben White, everyone, great people.
My
Look
pleasure.
forward to more in the future. And we will talk to everyone next week. I want to thank everyone for listening. Bye-bye.